When we think about natural disasters, we often picture them as these totally random, chaotic events. But what if they're not? What if there's a hidden pattern? Today, we're diving into Turkey's disaster map, and what we're going to find is a predictability that could, well, change everything.
Seriously, think about it for a second. An earthquake here, a wildfire there, we tend to see them as separate, terrible events. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it? What if they're all connected, following this hidden map that we're finally starting to understand?
The devastating earthquakes in 2023 were such a tragic reminder of just how high the stakes are. They showed us, in the most brutal way, that these disasters don't care about lines on a map, and that figuring out the why and the where, well, it's literally a matter of life and death.
So, that brings us to the heart of this explainer. Where is this hidden map coming from? Well, it's from a brand new study that dug into over a century's worth of disaster data in a way that, honestly, no one has before.
Okay, so the source we're looking at is a 2025 scientific paper. And what these researchers did was amazing. They took all the data from Turkey's official disaster database, it's called AYDES, and just crunched the numbers. And we're not talking about a few years of data. We're talking about 125 years worth. That gives us this incredibly clear picture of the long-term patterns.
So, to actually find these hidden patterns, the researchers focused on the big four, the most frequent and widespread disasters hitting the region.
The study looked at wildfires, earthquakes, landslides, and floods. For our purposes today, we're going to take a tour of the hotspots for 3 of them: wildfires, earthquakes, and landslides. This way, we can really see these patterns with our own eyes.
All right, let's get started on our little tour of Turkey's disaster geography. Buckle up, because we're about to see just how these risks group together in these really specific, and definitely not random, ways.
First up on our tour, the fire belt. And yeah, the name pretty much says it all. This is where the action is when it comes to wildfires.
Okay, now look at this. What's so striking here is just how clear the pattern is. You've got the regional map on the left and a more zoomed-in provincial view on the right. And the data just jumps out at you, right? Wildfires are not scattered randomly. They form this really dense band all along the Aegean and Mediterranean coasts. You can see places like Çanakkale, Izmir, and Muğla just lighting up.
And here's the kicker. The last slide showed us where the fires are, but this is the proof that it's not just a coincidence. See those red areas? Those are what scientists call statistically significant hotspots. It means there's a mathematical certainty that these high-risk places are all clumped together. It's a real cluster. And just as important, look at those blue areas up in the northeast. Those are cold spots, consistently low risk. So yeah, this analysis proves the pattern is absolutely real.
All right, let's keep moving. Next stop on our tour, we're heading into what the study calls the shake zones. You can probably guess what we're talking about: earthquakes.
And once again, the raw data just tells such a powerful story. You can almost trace the major fault lines right on the map with your finger. You see these 2 really clear corridors of activity, one out west along the Aegean, and then this really intense one in the east, right along the eastern Anatolian fault. And you can see provinces like Malatya, Van, and Kahramanmaraş just popping out.
And here we go again with the statistical proof. The red hotspots, they line up perfectly with those fault systems. You've got a cluster in the west, and then that really powerful hotspot in the east covering places like Malatya, Elazig, and Kahramanmaraş. This map proves that what we're seeing isn't just random chance. And here's the really crucial takeaway. Earthquake risk isn't just one province's problem, it's a regional one.
Okay, for our last stop, let's head north. We're going to a place with steep mountains and a whole lot of rain, the landslide corridor.
Wow, okay, the concentration here might be the most intense one we've seen yet. Just look at that dark shading all along the Black Sea coast. The data is screaming at us that the landslide risk is just overwhelmingly packed into this northern strip. Especially in places like Rize and Trabzon, we're talking some of the highest disaster frequencies in the entire country.
And you guessed it, the statistical analysis confirms what our eyes are telling us. That solid red band running across the north, that is one continuous, massive hotspot. This isn't just a bunch of high-risk provinces that happen to be next to each other. No, it's a truly interconnected zone of shared danger. It confirms that they are all linked by this shared regional risk, all because of their similar geography and climate.
Okay, so we've finished our tour of the hotspots. Now it's time for the big question. What's the takeaway here?
What does it all mean when disasters bunch up like this?
Well, there's a scientific term for it. It's called spatial clustering. But honestly, it's a pretty simple idea. It just means that risk isn't random. High-risk areas tend to be neighbors. They create these hot spots. And on the flip side, low-risk areas also group together, forming cold spots. This right here is the hidden pattern the data has been showing us.
And this idea, it completely changes the game for how we should think about disaster management. The old way of thinking was like, okay, each province is its own island dealing with its own separate problems. But this new view, the one backed by all this data, says, no, that's wrong. Risk is clustered. It flows right across provincial borders, creating these huge interconnected regions where everyone shares the same vulnerability.
So the billion-dollar question is, what do we do with this powerful new knowledge? Well, the study doesn't just point out the problem, it actually proposes a whole new blueprint for safety.
And the study's conclusion is, well, it's pretty blunt. It basically says that the old way of doing things, just reacting to disasters, one province at a time, it just isn't cutting it anymore. It's not enough. The patterns are regional, so the solutions have to be regional too. So this new blueprint for the future is pretty straightforward. Step 1, we've got to start planning based on these real risk zones, the actual hotspots, not just some old administrative lines on a map. Step 2, that means we need to create regional plans that tackle these shared risks together. And step 3, and this is huge, it's going to take real, deep cooperation between neighboring provinces and all levels of government.
At the end of the day, the goal is a massive shift in mindset. We have to move away from just reacting after the worst has happened and start proactively preparing for it, using these predictable patterns as our roadmap.
And so that leaves us with one final and really important question. We have the map now. We can see the patterns plain as day. The real challenge ahead is how do we actually use this knowledge to build a genuinely safer, more resilient future?